Hey, it's Dorleen, and today I'm working on a really fun card. This is called an angled card, and I'm going to be putting a belly band around it, and this is going to be a masculine card. Now, I don't have masculine cards, and I usually don't realize it until I need a masculine card. So my hope is to make more of them, so I have them prepared in my card box. So this card is a 5.5 by 11 inch base. You score at 3 3/8 and 7 5/8 on the 11-inch side. And so once you do that, you're going to measure down 1.5 inches on both the right and the left side, and also 1 inch on the bottom of the right and left side. And then you'll use your paper cutter to cut on those angles. Now, the pattern paper that I'm using, those panels are measured 3 1/8 by 5 1/4, and you do the same thing. You measure down 1.5 inches on the top side and then the 1 inch on the bottom. Now, you do need to be careful depending on which side of the panel that you're working on. When I say panel, the panel on the card base is where you'll put your 1.5 inch marks, because sometimes you have to put them on the right side, sometimes you have to put them on the left side, depending on the card. And you'll see what I mean in a minute, because I kind of had an oops, or almost an oops minute moment, because I started to measure both on the left side of both of these panels and realized one of them needed to be on the right side. But you'll get what I mean when you see it. So I don't want to confuse you too much. But basically, super simple card. Just, like I said, measuring and cutting. The paper that I'm using is from Cricut. It's probably a pretty old line. I can't for the life of me remember what the line is called, but I will have that information on my blog. I'll also have the measurements of the cutting guide and the card base on my blog. So if you didn't write it down, you can check my blog for that. The blog will be in the information or in the information box below. So like I said, I really like this paper. I was very rustic, and so it really did scream masculine to me. So the leftover paper from making the card base, that's what I'm using to make the belly band, so that all the cardstock matches. Of course, you can do whatever you like. I decided not to score these lines on my scoring board, because although I do want the lines to be crisp, I didn't want them to be so tight that you couldn't move it on and off the card easily. So I just used my hands, which you saw, and then I used my bone folder to really crease the score lines. So I did cut off a little piece of the band as well, because it really overlapped a lot, because like I said, I used that 11-inch paper. You don't necessarily have to do this, but that's just something I did. So once I adhered those, I decided, now I had to think, okay, what was I going to do to make this a masculine card? So that was the hard part, because I knew I wanted something kind of rustic, but still wasn't really sure. So I went to my Cricut, I had some ideas, and I was kind of channeling my inner Tim Holtz, which I was way far off, but that's where I got the gears. And that turquoise paper is just absolutely gorgeous. It's also part of the same line from Quotes, and I really like the accents of it, especially because it reads like a solid, but it really is a tone-on-tone pattern paper, which I love that. So it added more interest to the card. So once I cut those gears on my Cricut, I wasn't really sure. I still needed like a main image, and I don't know, I was thinking, I was debating between like a musical instrument, and for some reason trains popped in my head, and I saw that image, and that's what I decided to do. I use the offset in my Cricut design space to create that white, offset, and that helped build a base for that train, because they were actually pretty small pieces to put together. So once I did that, now I'm stamping a sentiment. I was going to do happy birthday, but I feel like that's always my fallback. So I just use this thinking of you, which in my mind can kind of be used for a birthday, or really any occasion. And so it might be more versatile. So I originally stamped it pretty close to the left edge. And then I realized I wasn't sure how I was going to tuck it in underneath that train. So that's why I did the double stamping, and I moved it a little bit more to the right. So I think I ended up using the one that I did closer to the left edge, which is funny because I had plenty of room to tuck that in and also for the whole sentiment to show. But you can see here that originally I'm putting all the elements, really basically in the center of the card, which is what you would mostly imagine doing. But that sentiment is so long and I didn't want to change it. I really just like the basic, nothing fancy font of the Thinking of You. So I just moved everything over to the left. I think it still works. I did the fishtail banner over on the right side of that little sentiment. And basically with that, you just put a snip in the middle of the center of, the strip. And then from one corner to the next, you snip up to that little where you snip that center portion. Hope that makes sense. But I do like the placement now. I hope you agree. And I just decided I'm going to use my liquid glue because they're all kind of small elements. And sometimes that's just easier because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. But you'll notice here, normally when you put something on like a belly band or something that is not supposed to attach completely onto another piece of paper, I usually will put the glue, in the areas that you don't want sticking to the paper, which I did not do on that larger teal paper, but I did do here. So you see how I'm just putting the glue in the middle of this and leaving that very bottom and the very top without adhesive. Now that is the way you're supposed to do it. So I realized that. And so I took the belly band off the card pretty quickly so it wouldn't glue. Now I'm just deciding, I had some silver sequins. Wasn't sure if I wanted, your standard metallic look or this kind of rustic silver. I decided to go with this because I am going with like a rustic look and I think it really offsets it. Now, normally you always hear, okay, rules of threes, blah, blah, blah. So I would normally think I would need to have 3 of those sequins, but I think they were large enough that I didn't need them. And I just still used like a larger and then a little bit smaller sequin. So I think it worked fine. So once the glue dried from from everything, but most importantly, that teal gear, that's when I put the belly band back on. But I hope you like this. And if you do, give me a thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button down below. And I hope to see you later. I do at least 2 videos a week and I'll have one soon. Bye.